Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers, coming to you from way down south in New Orleans. No, it's South Georgia. I just want to welcome you and say greetings, blessings to all of you. And I always extend, hope that you receive the blessings from the Creator. Um, Title of this particular video is Symphony with a Soul Symphony and an Orchestra, and You and Me. I did a video, I think yesterday, this being Friday, November the 16th, I think, 2018. Okie dokie. But with this, for some reason, um, I've been getting these really interesting images with the idea of what I spoke about before about, that each one of us has our own harmony. We need to find our own balance. Everyone that's on this spiritual journey is looking for God or spirit or heaven or however you wish to portray it or say it or whatever. But everybody's got this core value that I talk about. But that core value, regardless of the religion, is love and compassion and kindness, and regardless of your race, creed, color, etc., it all depends upon what you are as a human being and what you wish to portray. Now, with that said, I've seen I get my little angel downloads, if you will, and they come in pictures, and I see this, and I earlier spoke about this about each one of us is like a guitar player or a band member, or maybe you're in a choral group. Maybe you sing in church. I grew up in Catholic church and grew up singing Catholic songs. Then I moved into South Georgia and hung out with some of the Baptists and the local folk down here and started singing old spirituals and stuff and old country type, gospel music. And so, and some of it is just absolutely hair raising when you get, 2-3 part harmony going with some good guitar and a little harmonica or something in the background and a bass fiddle or maybe a violin. Oh my goodness, just the energy that comes through the music. And so I think one of the things that a lot of people, I know myself, one of the few reasons that I ever went to church was not necessarily to hear the preacher, but was to be able to sing in 3-part harmony. And even if it was a spiritual song or something like this, there's always something about how people in a church, they bond with the music. They don't bond with the preacher per se. And all the different churches and all the different sermons I've heard in my lifetime, I look back and I think the memorable moments were when there was a choir and when everybody sang in the whole church, and and there's 2, 3, 400 people in some of the larger churches I've been in, Catholic church, growing up in Tampa and all. Anyway, and I mean, there was, I don't know, 25, 30 of us in the choir, just up in the choir loft in Most Holy Redeemer, and I think the church is gone now. But anyway, but to the point though, a lot of people, a lot of singing, and a lot of harmony. And when you get it right, man, it just makes the hair on the back of your arm stand up. If you've ever played music or been around it, that's what it is. Now, I want to take this a little bit step further. And I did a Facebook video and discussed similar things about harmony and that each one of us has a frequency. And I realized that in the time that I did the video yesterday about harmony until now, I've done a Facebook video, and I've had a chance to verbalize this a little more and then take it a little step further. And now this is sort of like a continuation of that, but maybe just a little bit more in depth. One of the things that I think has been wrong because of the chaos on this planet, and this has been my recent little angel message, if you will, is that there is so much chaos. It's hard for us to hear what our true frequency is in the orchestra. And I looked up orchestra, and I was interested. There's an orchestra, and then there's a symphony orchestra. And a symphony orchestra has all the bells and whistles, and extremely all the bells and whistles, because that's basically what it means. And a full orchestra could be a philharmonic symphony orchestra. So when you think of symphony, you think of all these different sounds and devices coming together to create this great orchestral sound. And I realized that, there's a way that we can portray how we look at Mother Earth and the frequencies and so forth coming in. Mother Earth is, I've talked about it and other people have too, but the Schumann resonance, instead of being 7.8 or 8-ish, it's been pushing 58, way off the charts and steady. And so we're getting this energy back up through our feet, which is basically we're being retuned. Okay. And we're all feeling it one way or another. So follow me along with my little trippy head, and follow along. I'm going to use music and instruments and frequencies as my discussion and story for this. But it seems the more I've thought about it, here it is early in the morning, and I'm doing another video because, creator's kicking me in the butt to, have this conversation with y'all. And it's that I've talked about how some people seem to be stuck on the road. We're all on the path. We all wish to learn about spirituality. We all have we have a common core between us. Yeah, say that real fast 3 times. We all have a common core. Common core. Okay, that's enough. But to the point though, we all have we all want the same thing. We all seeking nirvana, heaven, the other side, fifth dimension, whatever it is. We all are seeking it. And the more we seek it, we understand that it is all about frequency. We can't take none of this 3D stuff with us. We got to leave it behind. And that's really kind of a good thing. But to the point, though, I was realizing it and looking at it from a symphony kind of thing. With all the chaos that's been on our planet, is on our planet, and is being tried to be stirred up right now, those of us who are awakening in our own way. So each one of us is a member of the orchestra. All right, now some of us play woodwinds, some of us play stringed instruments. You understand what I mean. I don't have to go into that too much, and whether or not any of us actually play in this 3D life isn't necessary. Each one of us is because we vibrate at a frequency, we are an instrument. There is a tone in the universe, and each one of us has our own tone. Each one of us has our own IP address in the universe, if you will. And it seriously is like that. On different realms, you're referred to as your IP address. And it might be like, for example, first I would be designated like Sol, the solar system. And then I would refer to planet Earth. And then I would refer to, like the United States. Then I would refer to, and so my title would start from where my origin of being is or has been. And so, a lot of people, so anyway, but it's like an IP address. It's not a big deal, just a bunch of digits in a laptop, But to the point though, so each one of us have our own frequency in the universe, whether we wish to understand it as a soul energy or our spirit, but it is there. So each one of us, when things are in harmony, when things are in sync between us, all of us, then there is a harmony that as each one of us is a portion of this orchestra on planet Earth, the larger the number of people who come into the orchestra and start tuning and playing with others and this and that, The next step is that the earth becomes a symphony orchestra. And that's like really inclusive. It's bigger than just an orchestra. Okay, so, and you might say, well, what's the semantics in this? Well, it would be the difference between 144,000 people who are awakened to 144 million people who are awakened. That's the difference, a factor of a whole 10. So, but as we're all doing this, so the coffee, please. Hold that thought. And I see you, Quartz, Nunya, and Marie. Good morning. Good morning. Blessings always. So, because each one of us are a member of the orchestra of Earth, if you will, the more that participates in the group consciousness of, oh, hey, we're all in the spiritual thing here. That I'm part of, my energy is part of this orchestra here on planet Earth. My energy, along with my neighbors and my friends and people I don't even actually know, we are all a part of this orchestra because we're each an instrument of part of the universe. So if we're out of tune with ourselves, that's going to create a in the vibration of the orchestra, meaning each one of us, are in our own way. And it is very important to understand that each one of us are individuals. And we should always remember that that's very important. We should always be individual. However, anyone who's ever played in a band or an orchestra or whatever, you all have to be tuned to a certain key. And what I'm envisioning in these pictures that I get looking at it, it's that one of the things we need to understand now is because of the new vibrations in the cosmos coming up through Mother Earth, and man, they've been whacking us, I'll tell you. We need to fine tune our own frequencies to each other. Now, this has nothing to do with a hive mind. That's why I want to keep it in a musical tone, in a musical sense, which it is, because when we vibrate and our own energy is in harmony with ourselves and with the surroundings and the universe around us, we give off a musical note. There is a tone to us. We may not hear it, but simply because we are energy and we are who we are, and just by speaking, I'm creating energy and putting it into the universe. So therefore, I'm casting a spell, if you will, and saying, listen, what we need right now in some of the chaos between people, especially like in the UFO community, there's all kinds of name calling and finger pointing. And I've been seeing things and watching things, and even I spoke about some folks are just like, there's just some really weird, people trying to claim this, and it's just like, hang on. And I can see the unrest. And what we need to do for a lot of reasons, because the frequency is changing in Mother Earth, in order for all of these beings, you and me and the rest of us, we need to tune ourselves now to the new Mother Earth, so that as a group, and we are growing with our thoughts and with our frequencies, that with that, we make sure that we're all fine tuning our own selves, number one, and we're always talking about that. But I'm getting this vision kind of deal that it's like, but if we think about it in terms of music and harmony, that when we start thinking, you and I, you may play the bass, or maybe you play the mandolin, or maybe you play a wind instrument. It doesn't matter what you play. Let's just all pick a key, one that vibrates really well with each of us, and make sure that we're all tuned to it. You can still be a Christian, you can be a Jewish faith, you could be Hindu, Buddha, it doesn't matter what your religion would be because your core value is all about love and being spiritual. And so it wouldn't matter who we are in whatever religion or upbringing. Because if we refocus ourselves on the retuning of each other, and sometimes you have to get into a group to say, you know, I keep using this metaphor with guitars, but I was in back in the mid '60s. I had my first guitar. I even had my picture in the Tampa Tribune. We were all sitting in the park. Man, I hadn't had a guitar 2 months, and all I could do is like try to play the House of the Rising Sun. Oh my God, it was horrible. But I was sitting with some other people who could play, and they asked me to sit down, and they were teaching me. And then the picture got put in the newspaper, and I thought, oh Jesus, here we go. But the thing is, though, and I've been playing guitar mostly ever since for a lot of years. So, but anyway, you can tune your own guitar when you're sitting at the house, and you can tune it to the guitar. But until you tune it to a tuning fork or to a tuning device, you're out of tune to the rest of the world, if you will. It's tuned in your world, but when you get two or three people together, somebody's got to be the one in tune, and everybody tunes to that one. And when you get out of tune, you all make sure that you go back to that's the guy with he's in tune, and I'm the one that's flat or sharp. Okay, catch up. But the thing is that once everybody fine tunes their guitars, which on their own sounded just fine, it was only until that you get into a group, you understand everybody's got a tune to the tune, agree on a key and tune to it. And now we are all in harmony when we play G chord or whatever, but you understand my point. So, but the vision continues with this idea that it's bigger than a band. The entire planet is an orchestra, and each one of us has our own frequency and patterns and song to sing. But what's part of the problem in some of these, I'll just say groups, you let your imagination run as to what group you may think. I don't have any in particular in mind. Just to say that in the spiritual realm, some folks are, I just, in my humble opinion, it just seems like they're stuck. They still have a good heart. They're still, trying to help other people, but they just seem stuck to me. They're no any new information or insight or whatever. It's pick a new topic and let's have a discussion. And it just seems like it's just the same stuff all the time. That's okay but if you've heard the same story over and over again with no new twist, okay, I'm seeking more information, anyone else's point of view, to help me think it through. Okay, I don't want to rehash the same thing over and over. So that's why I try to do some of these updates. So anyway, but to the point though, I think that there's somehow the frequency of Mother Earth has changed their own frequency, and they're out of tune. They're still part of the band, but maybe they need new strings on their guitars because it's sounding flat. No matter how they try to fine tune it, they're slightly out. Now, as the planet Earth is changing its frequency, we need to understand, this is the download I'm getting really strong, especially right now, is that we need to make sure that we understand that we may need to continuously tweak our own personal tuning as this energy is taking place with Mother Earth and in the cosmos. And what we need to do is be able to accept a critique in the actor, theater, music world is someone who comes to you and says, I think you're a little sharp, or maybe you're singing a little flat. This is the note. Ding, 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 ding. Hit that note, please. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. And maybe they're ding, 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 flat or sharp. Anyway, but we have to be kind. And this is what I mean to the people who are in the community, who are just now waking up. And for those who are going to continue to wake up, folks we don't know that are going to wake up, and they're going to need to understand some of what this means. And it may be that you can just say, you know what? We're each a musical instrument on this planet, and we are all being retuned to the new frequency. Now, that's what? Think of the planet as an orchestra, and each one of us on this planet is part of that orchestra. But in order for the planet to become a symphony orchestra, which is bigger than a regular orchestra, the music is going to sound even better because it's going to be bringing in piccolos and triangles and timpani drums and cymbals instead of just woodwinds and a bass and a oboe and maybe a bassoon. No, there's going to be a whole woodwind section and brass section, and it's going to be a symphony orchestra. So as each one of us awakens with our energies, if we realize that our energy is part of the Earth's orchestra, the more people we bring in to play with us in this orchestra, the more they tune their energies in. We are all in the process of choosing that frequency right now. That's my point, and part of this is it's changing, and we need to make sure that it's like E on a low E or high E on a guitar is still E to Mother Earth, if you follow me. And so it's sort of like tuning to a 432 versus 440. And it seems like 432 is feeling more comfortable just in general. I've spoke about this before, but to the point though, it may be rather 440 may have the wrong pitch now, where 100 years ago when they were playing stuff on old phonographs with great big horns on them, that now the way we need to do things is retune everything to the new frequencies of the earth. Now, do I actually know what it is? No. I'm still working on that one, except that the more I accept that this frequency is kind of doing this little fluctuation kind of deal right now, and I've spoke about it before, and I will continue to use the wave thing. Sometimes that wave takes you up here, and then all of a sudden you're on the backside of the wave. Think of yourself on an inner tube on a 6 or 8 foot wave, and you'll kind of get the idea what I'm trying to describe. You feel the front of that wave pick you up, and then if it doesn't carry you in, then you slide down the backside and into the trough between the next wave. So things are like that. But it seems like if for these last couple of waves, and there's ripples all the time, and you can see it in the Schumann resonance where 3 or 4 days is like really active, and then there's a day or two of quiet. That's a wave. Something hit us and we hit a peak. In this case, on the Schumann thing, it actually shows a downside. But anyway, I'd rather show it as an up curve. But so we're riding these waves, whether we wish to agree with the science or not, but the science is already there to say this is what's going on. So it might be that on Thursday Schumann was really high. Everybody, we may have had to retune our guitars on those days, if you will, because the frequency was different. So an F didn't sound like an F chord, or a D didn't sound like a D, or whatever, or something sounded flat or sharp, and it could literally be the Earth's energy. Now, each one of us, if we're each an instrument in that orchestra, which that's what please think along with me and take this little ride with me down Hawkeye's trippy world. But as an orchestra of people, and a chorus on this earth, the more we understand between each other, and I wish to make sure that you understand, I'm not trying to describe any type of hive mind. It's simply a conscious agreement. We're going to all play the song in G. Now, with that said, everybody says, oh, okay. And we all know how to do that. So, what needs to be done right now is between human beings, we need to learn how to speak to other people who are like minded with this, but are still kind of skeptical with some of this stuff. So, before you start freaking them out, you can actually discuss with them in ways of, that we're all an orchestra on this earth. And, you know, Earth should be a symphony orchestra, meaning twice as many people, more, bells, whistles, calliopes, whatever you want is going to be added rather than just, a small horn section and winds and a bass and it's going to be a full symphony orchestra for the whole planet. And the more of us who understand that we are part of this symphony, we're not, I live down here in the swamp, but part of my awareness as a shaman is to understand that all of us beings are linked together in that great mandala of life. And of all the spokes and of all the wheels, we are all connected. And all of these soul lines and everything, we're all connected. We're strings and vibrations in the universe. The string theory, duh, but what is it? It's a vibration. And each one of us are strings and vibrations, and we're all part of the orchestra. And this discussion is the more we harmonize, and the more we include people who may only be able to play the triangle, but they can at least play it at the right time and in symphony with others of our like minded awareness, in sync with how Mother Earth is now changing her frequency. Now, we're all just going to have to kind of keep up with this. But I look at it more as like, rather than get frustrated about the high peaks or the low peaks, we just understand we're still, regardless, there's a medium in there. And those really high frequency, hair frizzy, out to here days are the days where, it just looks like your head's been in a bucket of water all day or whatever. But to the point, though, the more we become aware of each other's frequency, regardless of where we are. Now, those people who are empaths or who work with this or that, everybody needs to come together with the idea that what I'm doing at this particular moment is I'm trying to be the best person I can be. Whether person A agrees at all with anybody else, but they're confident of who they are, we need to respect them for that and understand that we all have our own song to sing, our soul song, because our souls are that energy which vibrate in the universe. And the more our souls become more vibrant with the understanding of that we're all in this together, but we're all in the band. And those of us who are on this path, we obviously want to be members of the band. Not nobody stands out. I mean, if everybody's got a guitar, then but we wish that sound to sound like one in a harmony, so that whoever is listening to it, especially when I'm playing guitar, if it sounds like shit to me, I don't want anybody else to listen. I want to make sure the strings are in tune, and everything. But anyway, to the point though, same thing with bands. Now I'm mostly with folk bands, but I have done electric. But the thing is regardless of who the bands are, everybody tunes. They may tune differently than another band, but the band tunes to itself at least. So the more that we understand our frequency, more like someone in the band, and I contend, start there with that little analogy with people that around you. So it's like, well, I got a brother and he thinks kind of along some of this way sometimes, but so maybe you can just have an easy discussion about, we're all, we were all talking about how we're all in this together spiritually and we're all going to learn new things and so forth. But you know what? You're like a guitar player or say maybe a friend of yours looks like maybe they should be playing the violin, or maybe they do play an instrument. and say, when you play your instrument and you play in a band, that we're putting frequencies out onto the planet. We're part of the orchestra of planet Earth with the music and the vibrations we send out. There's been some old space movies and sci-fi and things where, some group out in the Alpha Centauri section somewhere has been watching old I Love Lucy reruns, and Lucy, you got some explaining to do, So it's like they come to Earth going, Lucy, well, they're all looking for Lucy and Desi Arnaz. But anyway, or Gomer Pyle maybe. But or Don Knotts, is Barney Fife, we all got to have a little bit of fun in this life, But to the point though, each one of us has our frequency, when it's like Don Knotts is Barney Fife and Andy Griffith, okay, let's use that as Andy Griffith is a much larger fellow and he's calm and he's like, now Barney, calm down, and Barney's all, oh, I got a bullet in his belt. But the thing is that's the yin and yang of things. Barney Fife was a totally different character with Don Knotts and how he portrayed his character. But the two of them and the group made in my opinion, the early Andy Griffith shows with Don Knotts in them, some of the funniest skits even today. And it's just like, and who is really taking the place of Barney Fife as far as their character and so forth. And, just absolutely hilarious. But my point is that everyone has their own frequency. His in comedy and in theater and movies too, but more in live theater because you interact with your audience. You do something, they sigh, they laugh, they cry. You can feel the emotions when you're on stage in front of a live audience. It's addicting, quite frankly. But to the point though with this, each of us, if we understand that we're part, and I would rather leave the theater part out of this, but it's very, very much more like an orchestra. So I'm hoping that between us, we continue to talk to one another in a way that's more harmonious. And rather than finding a way to argue with someone, figure out a way that you can not necessarily agree, but just where it's not so uncomfortable for each of us, like, a flat earther, go, yeah, okay, well, what about this? And see, well, that is curious, but I'm, you can just say, well, maybe I'm not sold on it, but thank you for your comments. There are things we can do. If, if we be the grown up in the room, if we stand up and go, you know what? Rather than argue with these people, I'm going to find something I can compromise with them. Even if I have to kind of sort of lie a little bit on my own, like, well, maybe I could agree with you on that, but always throw that maybe in there, and it keeps you at any kind of verbal contracts, if you will. Well, maybe, but it soothes the soul and it calms them down versus, all flat earthers or pig-headed, stupid blah blah blahs, and well then you're not going to go any further. But if you go, well, I could understand why you would think that way, but just leave it there. You've agreed with them, you've made a compromise rather than create a butt heads kind of deal. And that's how we retune this planet, because there are a lot of us that have a lot of similar ideas, but we let the little things get in the way that keep us more of a part of the chaos, which means nobody in the orchestra is in tune at all. And if you've ever been to a tuning session before a concert where everybody's tuning up, there's some squeaky noises going on in there, I'm here to tell you. But you understand that later on, as they're warming up, they realize there is a cohesion that comes together, and then the orchestra starts to, even though a piccolo is playing a piccolo and a violin's playing a violin, they're making music of the orchestra. Now, I suggest that because a lot of people, had think, well, we kind of have to have a hive mind kind of idea. Well, what we need is we don't necessarily need a leader, but we need a grown up in the room, and or like an orchestra, we need a conductor. The conductor just brings everybody together. And some conductors, I've been in choral groups where they're really rambunctious and nasty and rah. But to the point though, what they want is the best out of each one of us, and they want us to pay attention, and they want us, but to the point though, they're they're dictatorial up to a point until everyone, because only the director or the conductor can hear what's going on and can say you're out of sync and you need to. And but what you need to do is, as a director myself, you have to tell certain folks you're still out of tune. You need to, if you can't hit that high note, we're going to, do something else or whatever it is. But as an orchestra, as to become a symphony orchestra, and then to become, as the planet Earth, you and me, as these instruments of our souls, as we continue our vibrations, we need to continue to tweak our tuning between each other and with Mother Earth. And I say that it might be that one day seems a little off and you may feel a little edgy, rather than realize it, become aware that, hey, if something seems a little out of whack, I'm going to pull myself back and go, hang on, that seems a little too much for me today. And I'm just going to be aware of it, and if somebody tries to get my goat or whatever, it may be the energy's going, and everybody's that way and everybody's agitated. So you have to, within your own mind, now's the time to tell yourself, hey, if that happens, I need to pull back. I need to go into my little safe word zone. Okay. I need to go into my own self, I need to keep my own frequency. I need to keep myself intact, keep my guitar tuned, and it's like everybody else can be all wacko and everything. Ooh, fine, but you keep yours tuned and just realize, okay, they're out of whack a little bit and you just keep on, but give them a day or two and they'll should come back around. But to confront people at this time just seems to be plumb wrong. But we can confront people with kindness and with courage, with a critique, a lot of C words, kindness, courage, critique. Okay. But seriously, I've used this as managers and plant situations and hundreds of people. So I've worked this and it does work. And in our community, especially, there's not so much infighting. Is there? People have a speciality, and some people don't understand what that speciality may be. And I know some people who are waking up that are just beginning to understand what their speciality is in this life. They're developing it. It's becoming, they're becoming aware of it. So for some of us who kind of been out here on this road a while, I try to help folks and have conversations in such a way. It's like, okay, you might be doing this over there, but understand there's some more to this. Not that you're wrong, just to be aware there is more to that. You're just touching part of it. And that's good. Keep going, but understand that you're part of this orchestra too, and that when you learn these things, when you wish to become a part of this awareness, people are tuned in who've already been here for a while. We kind of understand what that frequency is. It's just sort of a feeling thing. And I realize from day to day, I'm kind of going along with it, but Spirit's kicking me in the butt, telling me, Pops, Hawkeye, remember my own talks I've had several months ago about we need to be like we're sitting on an inner tube and riding these things out. We don't need to become a part of the wave. We don't need to get rolled over in the wave. We don't need to be drowning in the wave. We need to be floating on an inner tube on top of these things and understand that we're floating on an inner tube. Can't sink if we're floating. Hang on to the tube. Some of these, waves might get a little high, but understand that this is where we are. Rather than try to fight it or swim through it or tread water in one place, ain't gonna work. And in so many ways, I realized, I guess about, well, a few days ago, I realized that I was actually fighting it, and it was an unconscious thing. And I realized somehow I was like, this just doesn't feel right. What's going? And it didn't take me long to go, hang on, wait a minute. Why are you even saying that? But I don't know what's going on. It feels confusing here. Let me have a conversation. Where's my coffee? And I realized that having just come back to whatever reality I was in, which seemed really damn real, and coming back into here, it just seemed like I was out of tune. And I think there are a lot of us who are going off in our astral selves. And I don't know, a friend of mine asked me the other day, that just said, Hawkeye, I don't know where the hell you go, but you come back with some of the strangest stuff in a good way, but you come back with some strange stuff. And like, I agree, but for some reason I'm being used as a vessel and as a commentator. But anyways, so with that said though, it really isn't about me. It's about how can we all understand this? It isn't about me. I'm here. I'm a mouthpiece for this. And okay, let's have the conversation. But I just feel that at times, because I have directed many shows and puppet shows and things in my lifetime, it's that sometimes I feel like maybe I'm like a conductor now. I understand. I've heard woodwinds before, and I've worked with people over here and this folk over here. So in a way, in trying to help explain other people about this, I'm not a boss. I'm not anything like that. But I'm more like a conductor. Like maybe your frequency is over here. Maybe you would be really good in with a violin, you know, or maybe you would be really good on the oboe. We need a bassoonist, you know. Oh, maybe the French horn. Okie doke. So maybe you've already got an instrument, or I know some people who play the piano, or maybe they play the organ, but they might play another instrument too. Although they lean towards one, they actually get more of enjoyment out of this other one. And so it's like, well, pick one. And not because that you can't change. It's that pick one rather than trying to find one, just pick one and stick with it for a while and see how it feels. You can always switch over. I mean, there's times when I've played a guitar, but I got a keyboard. Sometimes I just want to mess with the keyboard, and it's sorry, guitar just don't do it. I want to play the keyboard. Or sometimes I want to play my mandolin, or maybe I want to play the harmonica, or maybe I want to play the flute. Okay, sometimes I just in that mood. But to the point though, we are, as each of us learns our own instrument, our soul instrument, as we continue to fine tune it and tune it with each other, we just need to remember we're part of an orchestra, not a hive mind. It's not like that. But everybody needs to think together when you play in an orchestra or a band. So look for ways to say hey to your friend or someone who's out there on the fringe. Change your tone a little bit if you need to. Agree with them on something, even though it might cost you a little pride on your own. But the thing is you need to look at the bigger picture and say, so what? So I did a little baby lie and agreed with them. Okay, I don't I really don't believe that, but I agreed with them just to so we could come to other common grounds. Well, all right, I'll compromise on that. Okay, and now let's talk about this. I've pulled in folks before like that on regular conversations where they at some point wanted to beat my ass, and I'm like, well, why? Well, because I like to fight. Yeah, but why? I mean, because I like to look. Okay, but anyway, Have still gotten creamed a few times in my lifetime. Not because I want to fight. That ain't it. Some drunken fool wants to start swinging. Anyway, shouldn't have been in the bar. That was my fault. But with the symphony and everything, with what's going on, I got this interest. I'm always thinking in pictures they send me. So it's almost like little GIF files, or GIF files, depending on where you're at. Little flash drive thingy. There's a little movie, and I see the planet Earth from. Sorry, but it's a globe, and I see planet Earth, and it's like Asia sings. There's a frequency that Asia sings, with the type of music and the, there's multi um, stringed instruments like a sitar, in India and that kind of thing. And then you move into the Western world where there's, like in Brussels and Germany, Denmark over there, there's a lot of orchestras for real there, Italy, Spain, etc. And so, and all the London Philharmonic. So, and then, but down in Africa, then you've got tribal things, and all of those, they use flutes and drums and pitches of voice, sort of like those throat singers, you know. The Aboriginals in Australia, they use didgeridoo, and I have a didgeridoo as well. But anyway, so with the didgeridoo, and so everybody's in a particular frequency. But as a musician myself, I realized that there are certain tones, and everybody, on the other side of the planet, there are tones of the earth that seem to just, when you're whittling wood or when you're building a pipe or any type of flute type pipe is what I mean, is that, oh my goodness, you get this woodsy, earthy kind of tone out of it. And so the Native American flutes and that type of things. Now in South America, the pan flutes and so forth, they're pitched much higher than a Native American flute, which is longer and different. And so, but my point to all of that is that all across the planet, there are different versions of similar things. In Ireland and so forth, they use a little tiny pipe, or they call it a pipe or a fife. And, the little tiny piccolo thing, you think of the 1776, the piccolo. And then, but anyway, and then there's the flute. So just in that particular area, there's all these variations of the same thing. So each one of us could, we could be in the flute section, we could be in the string section. It doesn't matter. And maybe sometime you flip over and you play the bass once in a while. That's cool. But we all need at this particular time to pick one that's the most comfortable with us. And let's use that as our core value. Maybe you're leaning towards Christian, or you're worried about becoming a Buddhist, but actually, maybe what just needs to happen is that you just need to accept the spirit and not worry about the religion or which book is right or wrong or who's got the right chapter, or that's just making us be out of tune, because we're trying to connect straight to the source. Source is the conductor for the entire planet and for Mother Earth. And we're getting instructions from the conductor. But the conductor, creator, okay, God, if you got to go there, but and I mean that with respect, but creator, if he is the conductor of this, which he is, or it is, or the is, or however, um, it's for the benefit of all mankind. It's for the goodness thereof. Creator doesn't want the devil to come in and wreck everything and turn everything into slime balls and everything. The chaos is from a totally different place. And at this particular time, we all have the ability to pass along with one another how to change our frequencies so that we jive with one another. We're all part of the band. I would like to have a symphony, a, a philharmonic symphony orchestra of planet Earth, meaning 144 billion of us all playing with the right key in the right mode. We all play the song in G or whatever we agree upon that is agreeable with everyone. It's got that one frequency that in the great Mandela with all the spokes, we all connect at one point. That's the point where we agree on. And from there, everything else stems. So you're still yourself, but we're all going to touch at one point, and that point's going to spread out like spokes on another wheel, and everything is going to glow because we're going to be in harmony. Wow, now ain't that some trippy stuff? Follow along with me. I'll take you on a trip out into the universe, I think, maybe. But with that thought, though, the more we are in tune, the more the harmonious we are with this planet as as musical instruments with our soul energy, which puts out everything else. However you wish to do it, just understand that. Wait a minute, do I have to go through any kind of ceremony to do this? No, I just need to stand still for a few minutes and allow myself to become in tune with the universe. Whatever your tuning is, allow your frequency to just start melding with the earth and the universe, because fighting it just ain't working. And I realize that even sitting here having this conversation today, even as cold as it is and rainy and everything it's been the last few days, having come to this realization yesterday with the harmony, I somehow feel better. It's still cold and my joints hurt, and I got a butt cramp, but hey, that's kind of normal, that's just what life is. But at the same point, there's a difference even today since yesterday. Now, I have kind of been meditating on this. What about the harmony and how do we, you know, sometimes I've had many guitars. I still have many guitars actually, but I've had many guitars over the years, and there's some that just by golly, there's just one or two strings that somehow they just won't hold still. And maybe it's in the key, maybe it's in the bridge, maybe it's at the bottom. I don't know, but there's one string that just won't quite go in, and it sounds okay, but I'm and being picky with some certain things, and it just won't quite stay there. The string stretches, come to find out maybe the string's bad, and you replace the strings, and all of a sudden it stays in tune. And you go, oh, why didn't I do that before? Sometimes it just is the string. But if you put a new string in with a set of old strings, that doesn't sound right either. You got to change the whole set for it to really sound the full sound to come out of the strings and the guitar. So, with having done all of that just in using guitars over the years, I think about, I think right now, maybe as a planet, it's like we're getting a new set of strings. And that would be because the strings have been on this planet for so long, have gotten old and stretched, and we just can't keep them tuned. And this is our chance now with Mother Earth to get new strings. And so that we are now being able to pick up this new vibrational frequency. And as we learn about this and keep our discussions with this, each one of us will learn how to fine tune your own and understand, oh, we already know we're a part of this, but do we understand how we're a part of this? And I submit that, yeah, we will all wish to be spiritual beings, but have we really considered ourselves part of a group like an orchestra? Not a hive mind, not a this. There's some Indian music I love. There's African music I love. There's Caribbean music I love. There's Andes music and pan flute music that I love. But there are some forms I'm just like, okay, but everybody's trying to sing their own song. But the more groups who are in the Andes or wherever, pick a spot, They are all in tune there. And I think we need to understand between us, if as we become more aware, we must be aware that there are other folks like us on this planet who are making their own music. And their goal in their life, where they live in their society, regardless of where it is, they're trying to be a part of the orchestra as well. They're just in the South American section. And then there's the Russian section. There's some of them old Russian songs that, like, oh man, I want to kick my feet too. There's some Balkan music that's just like fantastic. I love it. Um, um, the Beatles sang about the balalaika singing loud. But anyway, yeah, absolutely. There's so many different things, but as we become one with the understanding, it's important we stay, single in who we are, because nothing can change that, and we need to fix it on our own. But when we look at it, is okay. I'm looking at my frequency now and thinking. Of course, I've been looking at this way for a long time, but I've never used the planet or all of its people with the idea that we are an orchestra. I understand it from a frequency standpoint, but I had it this new quote vision of us being in an orchestra on Earth with our soul energies being that vibration. That's a new twist on how my brain processes some of this. So, and it makes a lot of darn sense. I mean, there's a lot of musical terms and vibrations and tunings and things that very much relate to the spirit, and that sometimes we have to tune. If your guitar sat in, and you don't ever put a guitar in the trunk, it'll warp it, and then you can't tune it right forever. Or if it gets too much moisture and it'll get soggy, it doesn't sound right. So you got to keep a guitar in a relative decent, kind of environment there. Um, but having traveled around with musical instruments, I realize that sometimes, like a Native American drum, if it's too soggy, you got to put that thing under a lamp or near a fire, and you got to stretch that hide back out, or it's going to go thunk, thunk, thunk. But once you get the hide dried back out, you get the sound of a true drum. So it's very interesting. So it's sort of like that. I see things in so many different ways, but using musical instruments of all different kinds and using the frequencies of different drums, timpani drums. I mean, on a drum set, you got the big ones, you got a hi hat, you got cymbals you can hit, um, and you've got the bass drum that you can keep the beat with your foot, boom, boom, doom, doom. So all of this, but everything it can be tuned in, so that each individual becomes a part of the whole. So the more that we understand our soul's energy and the frequency we are now receiving and upgrading now, we just need to remember we're going to need some tweaking here. But if we continue to understand that thinking together like an orchestra, more so than a hive mind or a new world order, no, let's all agree that we're in a spiritual orchestra. And that's how we should look at this. And we need a conductor, but not a boss. We're all individual players. We all play the instruments we choose, but we all want to play in the orchestra. We all wish to be, we're already sort of members. Some folks just wish to sit out in the audience and not use their talent. But to those folks who play and wish to participate in this spiritual journey, then you are automatically an active person in the chorus or in the orchestra. So here you are. So now let's agree on this. In certain areas, we need a conductor, only in that we're all making sure that our vibrations are staying tuned. Not to criticize another person and say, you're full of shit. Nobody listens to them, or this person over here has got misinformation. And no, contribute what you have, but understand that it's a contribution to the orchestra. and we're going to become a symphony orchestra, which is like twice as good as regular orchestra. And that's what I feel we're in right now. We're in a growing pain. There's been an orchestra on Earth for a long time. And in spots, it's been like, quartets and, little mini sections here. But in these especially these last 2 years, and even more so this 2018, people are understanding more of the greater consciousness, being that's the orchestra I'm speaking about. And so as we continue to bring in other musicians and they understand that their soul frequencies are part of the music for the planet, and that come join us. I don't care if you're playing a triangle or not, or you're playing cymbals, or you want to play the drums or the bongos, don't care, but you wish to participate. Okay, then there's sort of basic rules, and the conductor is going to help jive us all together. It's nothing about religion, but it is about the music. Let's all play music together. Let's harmonize in this planet. And I don't know. I'll do a little conducting, and basically that's what I'm doing right now. I'm conducting in the ether and saying this is how we should look at this. Not that it's the only way, but if we think of it that way, when the music comes together in all of our frequencies, the music is astounding. So just okay, it's two or three of us playing music together, but when we start, and all we have to do is be aware. We don't have to really go anywhere. But we have to be aware. There are other people who are trying to play music in the same realm. But when you start being aware that there are other people who are joining the group, but their guitars are slightly out of tune, we help them in this realm, in the next dimension, however you want to look at it. In this dimension, we help them and say, hey, little fine tune in there with kindness and love and prayer and thought, and put it out there and to them. Give them a hug verbally or digitally over the internet or however you do it. But that welcome to the orchestra, and that it's a group, but it's separate individuals. You understand what I'm saying here? Because any other organization doesn't work. But we all need to understand that as part of, quote, the collective, let's call it an orchestra. I say let's be the grand Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra of this end of the galaxy. Because we as human beings, as we wake up and our vibrations and we understand and we start getting along better and still be individuals. I sincerely say we need to be individuals, but let's make sure our own tune is free. We tweak it so that we can all be this. The entire planet will be ringing music throughout the galaxy. It will be heard all over the place. They won't be able to stop it because we will have achieved harmony in so many ways. That would be nirvana, true harmony with nature, true harmony with each other, true harmony with the galaxy, the universe, with creator, etc. But once we just realize, I just want to be the best instrument player I can be, whatever it is. But you got to be true to yourself. You got to practice. You can't be a part of you can be in the reserve section, but to play in the real orchestra, you got to practice. And that's not being rude, but if you can't play the notes to the song, you got to stay over here in the section over here. Just keep practicing. We're going to let you sit in, but you got to learn because this is the song. And it's not like, well, you're bad, you're wrong, or your philosophy. I don't care where you're from. If you can't play the notes in an orchestra, somebody else has got to sit in because otherwise the music sounds like crap. And it's not trying to be rude. That's how it goes. because the songs are like that. The songs of our souls are like that. So it's not that we kick you out, but you got to go practice. You got to go over there and we'll help you. But you can't be defensive with us. You know, we say, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's tune your instrument. Maybe you need a new reed in your saxophone or something, or whatever it may be. Maybe your guitar needs new strings or violin, you know, or maybe your bow needs tightened for your, you know, whatever it is. But to the point though, we help each other. We help each other be the best musicians we can. And so that our soul vibrations are is we are the best instrument that we can be. We are our own, but just be aware. Let's make this band sound really, really cool. Let's not just be an orchestra, but let's be the Grand Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra, which is like orchestra is like okay, then symphony orchestra is second higher, philharmonic symphony is like the third, and a grand philharmonic is like the ultimate. It's the quad. Okay, and that's what I think Mother Earth, that's what we need to achieve. Interesting point of view, maybe. I'm hoping I'm going to read your comments in the middle, but I'm kind of in a connection right now, and I kind of want to just, you know, stay here for make sure I got all the information out. But you know, about the novices. I mean, back in the day when I first picked up a guitar, I couldn't make a chord for squat. But there were people, other musicians that would be kind enough to sit down with me and show me how to make an A chord, how to do a bridge with one finger instead of trying to cram three fingers on and how to make a D chord, how to make an F, how to do, you know, and they'd sit with you and they had patience with you. And so that you could go home and learn on your own. And then the next time you got in with this little group of men and women or whoever, down here in the South, there were little, and it's gone. I wish it was still around, but there are a lot of bluegrass folks, a lot of folks. We'd get together, there'd be 10, 15 people every weekend, 4 or 5 people to have guitars. We'd play music for hours, you know, and people bring drums. And I mean, just it was great. And most of it was acoustic, but to the point though, that doesn't go on anymore. So somehow we as an orchestra, and I've seen it change on planet Earth because all of us who used to get together and share that energy with all those songs because we would all tune together. And so our songs were going up in a harmony that was just absolutely gorgeous. You know, I mean, 15 or 20 people singing a song and everybody's doing the harmony and harmonicas and harps. Oh my God. You know, it's like, it's just hard to understand. But for some reason, we don't have that down here in the South anymore. Very spotty where it used to be, you know, somebody somewhere every weekend had 4 or 5 couples or groups or families get together and somebody always had music instruments. So, but now that has changed the soul vibrations. I mean, I know of folks up north, down in Florida, and things have changed. Folks got their cell phones, and there isn't the same kind of touch. And unless you go to a church to get the music, then many of us haven't been in touch with the rest of us. I know that sounds weird, but because I haven't shared music with anybody, we haven't sat down with, a bunch of folks, campfire, doesn't matter, but just get together and play music, and be in the same key and play with that harmony. It's astounding. And it just isn't going on as much as it used to. And I say we as spiritual beings need to, whether we can actually get together, we can be aware that there are other band members out there that are looking for this same frequency, that are looking for the same tuning. And as we connect and are aware of our. I don't know why, but I'm thinking this old Balalaka song that it was like a dun 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 hey dun 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 hey. I loved it, and for some reason I've got it's going on in my head. And it's like, but it's great. And it's like, but how can that go in with an American ballad or something like that? Old Russian folk songs. It's like, oh my God. And some of them are tear jerkers, man, make you cry. And I don't even understand Russian, but just the sound of the tone and so forth, and the way they play the music is so emotional. I'm like, I don't know what they're saying, but they got me in tears. So music is universal and our soul energies are universal. And I'm just suggesting that what we need to do on our spiritual level is understand that there are people joining this group in this quantum area, in this quantum orchestra. And the more we bring folks in, we just politely, come on, let's just all make sure we're playing the song in the same key. Everybody playing this in G, okie dokie. And it's not that you can't play it in a different key. You're just agreeing to play the certain songs or this time around in G. So it's not like, oh my God, this is a Nazi thing to take over our brains. No, we're just agreeing to play it in this key. And the conductor is going to go tap, tap, tap. Hello, everybody, pay attention. And a 1 and a 2 and a. Is the conductor the boss? Is the conductor Hitler or George Bush? Maybe one of the same. Oh, did I say that out loud? Ooh, shame on me. But anyway, but to the point though, no, they're the conductor. They've heard the song. We've all practiced it, or that's what we're trying to do right now. But there are folks just out in the realm. They're the ET folks that they're conducting me in a lot of ways, and all we have to do is just listen. Does this make sense? Well, yeah, actually it does. I'm an instrument and part of the orchestra. And oh my God, I've been slightly out of tune. Oh my God, I didn't know it. Oh, I'm playing my song down here in the woods. And I'm like, I know I'm a part of the rest of the universe, and I'm speaking about myself right now. I had no idea that maybe I was slightly out of tune to everybody else because everybody else is trying to get in tune as well. So it's like, well, one day the frequency will be here and some of us will tune into it. But tomorrow the frequencies altered a little bit and folks are trying to tune into that. So the folks who tuned in on Tuesday ain't tuned into the folks on Thursday because the frequencies changed just enough to make the folks on Tuesday sound a little flat or sharp than the folks who tuned on Thursday. And we just need to understand that, holy crap, this is a fine tuning issue. Some of this chaos and arguments in some places, and you know what I mean, there are folks arguing about the dumbest damn things. And I don't mean us, but in other chat rooms and stuff, there's some crazy folks out there. Some of our family members maybe, but to the point though, if we can find some kind of leverage with them, find something that you can agree with them on, even slightly, even if you gotta lie a little bit. White lies are allowable when you're trying to get an ally. And if you agree on some other things, then you got to make an ally. It's called playing politics, for gosh sakes. So be an ally with somebody and just eat a little crow and go, okay, but because you want them on these other things, So, and once you bring somebody, I say, on board with you, from a standpoint of being totally against you because you disagree on a couple of crappy things over here, you can't get together on the music of life. Come on, hang on. Wait. So you like to sit in a straight back chair and I like to sit on a stool. So we're both playing music. Okay, fine. You like to you do your strings that way and I put mine in the thing. Fine, but we're both playing music. You play your style, I'll play mine. Let's just make sure we're in tune. It's okay. And so that knocks a lot of petty stuff away when we just simply agree to one thing. If we're going to play in this universal cosmic orchestra, the main thing that we need to understand, well, it's actually a two-parter, but it's that we play in the same key so that we are all in harmony. So it's not a dictatorial thing, but in order to be in harmony with everyone, it would just be a fact of nature, not a dictate by any one person or group. But in order to listen to Mozart, you got to play it like Mozart wrote it. And everybody's got to be in tune. Otherwise, it sounds like crap. You want to listen to Beethoven, dun 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 dun, you got to be in tune. Otherwise, it's going to sound dun 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 dun. Wrong way. We want it to sound correctly. And that's all there is to it. Let's agree to be in tune with the group, with not necessarily anybody in charge. We just accept the new frequencies and agree on it. Let's quit fighting over this stuff, and so that we can all play in harmony spiritually. That's all. Wow. You could really take that and go, well, what about this one? No, no. When you bring your instrument into the pit to play with the other orchestra members, you leave everything outside. You're bringing your instrument, you're bringing your soul into play. You don't bring the wife and kids or the mortgage with the house. You don't bring it into the orchestra pit. You just don't do it. You come in, everybody else leaves their stuff outside. And when they come in and they tune their instruments and the conductor goes tap, 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 one and a two, and the music begins, everyone has now become a part of the group, a part of the harmony. And nothing else matters at the time that they're playing. Nothing else matters. Where they come from, who they are, who their parents were, it's all whether or not their instruments are tuned and whether or not they're playing in harmony, just so that so it sounds beautiful, a common goal. So why can't this be our common goal? Regardless of our religion, regardless of our clothing, regardless of our upbringings or whatever, we all come to the same place because we wish to play our soul music with the rest of the universe. And the basic requirements are tune your instrument and agree to play in the same frequency. We're all playing in this song in G, please. That's all. And if you want to say, well, you're making me do this, then you're not on the right frequency. Sorry, you can't play. You got to go back over to the music room and keep tuning your instrument. You're going to have to learn the notes to the song, whatever it is. And it's not to belittle anyone, but if you don't know the notes, then you've got to practice. So in order to do your own homework inside, in order to get the tuning done within your own self, you got to go into closets and clean trash out. You got to bring yourself spiritually up so that you're in harmony with your own self and your own being. And then you make the connection with the source in the best way that you can find possible. But when you come to the higher being table, understand there's already an orchestra there. And we have to learn the tune before we're allowed to play in the big symphony. We're still in little groupie bands down here. We're to the grand scheme of things, those of us who are into this right now, we're little guitar, little garage bands, actually, to the grand scheme of things. Because in the galaxy and in the bigger thought and universe, there's already, we are members of the orchestra, but because we've been on Earth and all the chaos and everything, we have forgotten the notes. We have forgotten the tune. We have forgotten what key that we should all be playing in. So that's what's happening now to us. So understand, that, hey, we're in transition here. Here I go, bring up the transition word. But we bring up we're in this transition. So that means we might have to keep make sure our instruments are tuned on a day-to-day basis, simply because the earth and everything is changing. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong or good or bad. It's changing. That's all. And that we just need to ride this out. It's going to mellow out. It'll be okay. We got to get through these couple Newton other waves coming in. But to the point, though, um, understand that Mother Earth, because of her frequency, and those of us 144 million of us, not thousand anymore. I contend we need to think of 144 billion of us waking up and sending our collective soul song in the symphony of life with the orchestra of the earth, and send out that vibration into the universe. Now, how about them flipping apples for a point of view and but seriously. And right now there's chaos and there's gunfire and there's screaming and violence and people arguing over petty stuff, when basically most of us, we all want to play in the band. And once we agree to that and understand what it means, come on, guys, wait a minute. Forget about whatever verse it is in the Bible. You want to play in the band? Okay, then quit with the verses. Grab your musical instrument, let's tune, and let's pray. Let's praise the Creator. Let's sing to the highest. Great. But let's forget about all these silly little words over here. What's really important is our soul music, and how can we all play together in this beautiful music in the universe, the galactic universal orchestra, and how we can become a part of that giant philharmonic symphony orchestra, the grandest of all orchestras. So now I'll read some of your comments. I know I'm way behind, and gosh, I'm into this an hour and 21 minutes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it was only supposed to be like 30 minutes. You know me, guys. But to the point, though, you guys wouldn't still be sitting here if I wasn't making a little bit of sense. And so, and like I say, I keep, I say this with great humbleness, is that, this is my job to try to communicate things in a different point of view so that we can all understand how to work together on this, But, I contend with some of these people who are talking about, don't have my glasses on yet, but I see 144,000 galaxies. It's more than that. But to the point, though, I think somehow folks are like limiting, there's 144,000 of us meditating and doing this stuff. I submit there are people who have been meditating on this, who we never communicate with this device. They're in China, they're in Mongolia, they're in South America, in the jungle somewhere. We're all praying about the same thing. But that's my point. They're different groups of orchestras. And a lot of us don't understand there's some orchestra players down south or to the east or to the north, or the Eskimos are singing, people in the Polynesian Islands, they're all singing, hey. And most of these folks are singing with one intent, and that's to be a higher spiritual being in whatever culture they are growing up in. And so we need to understand we can tap into those. We need to understand, let's make this a grand orchestra. Let's turn the music of the earth and use its different instruments to become a beautiful melody for the entire universe of 144 gazillion galaxies, let alone stars and things. But to the point. So anyway, let me scroll back up here. You know me, folks. I can't look over here at the side. It disconnects me from my connection when I'm doing this. And I thank you all, and you humble me every time you come and hang out with me, and anybody that might come in later on. But to the point, though, Tim Who TV, hi, I don't believe I've seen you before. Greetings. This entire world is a frequency trap. within the geometry. You should become the expanding circle. Fibonacci, remove yourself from the box. Yeah, Tim Hoog, I don't know if you've ever watched any of what I've done, but there is no box in my reality. There never was a box. And if anybody who still has, anybody who uses the phrase think out of the box, if your view of reality is you have to have a box to think out of, you're on a different level than me. And that doesn't mean that you're right or wrong. It just means that I don't have a box to think out of. My awareness is beyond that point. And you have to think that far out. Let's see what's up here. Who's Ronsko said there is only one pole, and that's at the North Pole of the Arctic. He's a flat earther. My throat chakra may be detoxing. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Good evening, everybody. Marie, Quartz, always. Tim, who it's new here, and Nunya. Hi, how are you? Good evening as well to you folks. I hope you're all warm and you're in where you're at. Didgeridoo, absolutely. Yeah. 5 elements. There are actually more than 5 elements. That's just the 5 elements that you understand right now. There's actually, and this isn't a criticism, Tim Hu. Trust me, but there are more than 5 elements because it's earth, air, love, fire, water, and there's the ether, and then there's above, below, and north, south, east, and west. So with the elements, there's also a direction. And a lot of people don't understand that, but there is a connection in the grand scheme of things. But I digress. There are more elements simply because you can't see them. And the quantum universe, the fact that ESP exists is in itself proof that there is another element, that there is another spatial reality. So I'm not trying, that was a kind critique, you know, where the science that people discuss, but when you enter the shaman's realm, numbers don't exist. You don't say, well, that's the 5th level, or you've reached the 9th dimension. There are no numbers because it's a reality. The shaman master, the medicine person, will look at you and you'll look in their eye and you'll go, oh shit, they just asked me about a reality thing, and they did a reality check on me, and they looked in my eye, and the thing I got back was, oh shit, I missed something. They don't have to speak it. It's just seen, they just look at you and go, or, or just, really, there's something in the eyes. They don't even have to speak it, but you hear it. There is this mental thing when you have a true guide with you in the shaman realm, and you go, oh crap. And it might just be a couple of words that will say, and what about this? What about the clouds? What about the snake? What about the dragon? And you'll go, what? How'd you know there was a dragon? How'd you, what, huh? Whatever. I'm just coming off the top with that. But they will ask you certain questions about where your journey was, or what did you see, or whatever it is. And then you go, hang on. And then they go, okay. And then they'll say something else like, how does that relate to you? Well, then that just takes you on a journey that could take years to figure that one out. But to the point, though, in the shaman's realm, there are no boundaries, because as soon as you think there is a boundary, then you're automatically start being limited. And the first thing you need to understand is that we are unlimited. As we expand with our own beings and with our own energies, we understand a true shaman can disappear and pop in someplace else. I'm working on that one. I've come close to walking on some really nasty mud without getting stuck, And so in there, I can tell time. And in some of the other videos, I've discussed these things that shamans do that a lot of people freak out about. Oh, that's magic. No, it's just using your third eye and your brain and your aura and your energy, and you're tapping into the cosmic computer, you know. Certain things, when you understand, it's like learning how to play in the orchestra. When you learn the song and you learn what the notes are, when you play the song the right way and hear the music the right way and harmonize with the universe, then the music just becomes easier to play. And then you start hearing other tunes, which is like instructions or understandings or maybe different layers, levels in reality, however it comes about. But the first time that you start, well, there's, you know, I say a gazillion because that's like eternal. And, gazillion kind of puts you a whole bunch I can't count, but it's easier in a way to comprehend that it's eternal. Eternal what? Well, what do you mean? Give me a number. No, there is no number. That's the point. Well, hang on there. So I use the word, some, freaky kind of gazillion thing to understand that it's beyond a true reality. If there's not really a number, it's in the gazillions, So, but we as a society and as 3D beings on this planet, we have grown up that we have to have everything's got to have a number, everything's got to have a group, everything's got to have a name, everything's got to be labeled some way, up, down, sideways. And out there really aren't labels to things necessarily. We have to have labels so that our brains, because we've been taught this way, so we can understand. But out yonder, it just is. It just is. And people, "Well, what do you mean it just is?" No, it's just there. Well, is it nearby or is it 1,000 miles away? It's just there. Give me something I can hold on to, and that's just it. If it's eternal, then there is no beginning, there is no end. Alpha, omega, above, below. It's there. It always is there. And so, but once you tap into it, it's there. Period. It's just there. It is what it is. And graciously, and every one of us can see it. And as long as our expanses and our awareness understands that it is infinite, then there are no bounds for each other. So, one of the first things that a shaman learns is to not box, don't box yourself in. Stay aware that the universe is eternal, and that's where the knowledge is. And so as you box yourself in, so do you keep your it limits you. It just limits your thinking and everything. Connection is key, and of course we have to connect with one another. Absolutely. I like your take with the symphony. It is a symptom of inverted reality. The reverse tune must be played, and the different flats and different sections too. TV Tim says that's accomplished through pure love and all of the above. Yes. So is that frequency. Life is a record, wide path. The narrow gate is the needle, the path of sound formation, which brings you to the higher dimensions of sound from the disc. Find your own sound of love. Yep. In a way, that's most exactly what it is. Um, some kids know this, absolutely. It's learned adults that forget the children remember to listen to. As adults, we've forgotten so many things, and that's why one reason why children are so important. Yeah, bro, I've been watching and sharing geometry. This box is created within the Metatron cube. Those are directions in the elements. The wheel of life expresses it with the elements and in the direction of the compass. Yes, Carol runs the control panel in the Akashic records. Okay, whatever that means. All right. But anyway, yes, just understand that the life goes on and it's more expandable than any of us can realize. And that's one of the levels of a shaman, is to understand that there are no levels, because for every time you experience something, your experience gathers even more, and the more you understand the expanse of things versus how closed a thing is, or the universe, the more expansion, and each of the levels grows exponentially within themselves. So it just keeps going on and on. It's a beautiful thing when out there and looking back upon it all. I mean, the electrical connections and so forth is just absolutely phenomenally amazing. And, the times that I've been taken out into the universe and seen how this web work goes together and how beautiful it is. Oh my God. And the energy and the things. And then when you feel the connection as one tiny single being in this whole universe of stuff. And then you feel like, well, I'm really insignificant. But then if you're tapped into the true source, source will ring right back to you and say, every single one of us is important. Every single, hi Marie, hi again, every single one of us can play in the orchestra. We may have taken a break, we may have, sat the last century out, and but to the point though, we're still always welcome to play in the orchestra, as long as you tune in with the rest of the group, you know. And it's not necessarily that hard to learn, but some people think it's about fighting. And the Rebels and the Yankees, they would play music together and then they'd go fight each other the next day. I mean, crazy stuff. So, but that's part of the understanding with what's going on in other realms. So I just hope that this makes sense to you lovely people. It obviously does. And just remember that I love every one of your opinions. That's why I try to read them out when it makes sometimes, and I've done the same thing, but sometimes the comment just, if I read that just don't make sense. Never mind. And I don't skip it to ignore you. I skip it because it does. I can't make it relate, and that's my fault, not yours. But call it love, call it compassion, and I just want to stick with the main law, my law of one: do no harm to any living being. And so the more we try to do no harm, and the more we try to be in harmony with everybody, it's just going to work out. And for those folks to say, well, what about my individuality? You're still an individual. You can still play in the orchestra, but certain rules, sorry, but that's just, it's not necessarily a club, but it is. You got to leave everything outside the orchestra pit. You got to understand that this is how it's done without being rude. So if everything I've looked at is to use as a metaphor, or, how do we get around? Orchestra and music seems to be the best explanation. I don't care if you're Jewish or Arabic or whatever. Can you tune your instrument and we all play the same song in the same key? I'm good. And that's how we should look at this. Do you want to harm anybody? No, because we're all in the orchestra together. And if we shoot the drum player, we're not going to get that timpani drum, and or don't shoot the cymbal player just because he doesn't play in every song. Come on. No, we're part of the orchestra. I don't care where you're from or what your beliefs are, but let's all tune our instruments and play in the galactic orchestra. Come on, guys. You know, and if look at how many people around the world, play and from different religions and faiths and places and things that play orchestral music. They don't even know how to speak the other language. Like they're Chinese folks that come over, and I speak in high regard with folks from Americas and folks from Germany who play, and they really don't know the other guy's language, but they can all play the same Bach or Beethoven or whatever tune it is, because it's music. And everybody can agree to tune to the same thing and play the song, regardless of whether they can speak the same language. They all speak in harmony with frequencies and music and light and the love that they send. Because when they played, if you played in a band and you could feel that hair stand up on the back of your arm or on the back of your neck or whatever, or if you've heard inside an orchestra and you sat in the audience and you can feel how all of those energies are melding together to make that music sound just right. It is otherworldly because they're tapping into the frequency of the universe. And everybody who listens to it, their energies get brought up into it as well. It's an absolutely wonderful thing. So even the folks sitting in the audience are part of the music because they go with the vibrations. I know in listening to orchestral music, sometimes I'll listen to the string section and the horns and everything else. There'll be other music. Sometimes like I'll tune into the oboe or maybe clarinet or something like that. And I hear the rest of the music, but there is a certain instrument my ear will somehow pick out. And we're all like that, but that's okay. But they're all part of the group. So with that, I got butt cramp big time, and I know you all are lovely people. And just remember, we're all in the same band. And look at it versus when people say, "Oh, this is another organization." Okay, call it an orchestra. You just say, "Well, what group are you with?" I'm with the Galactic Orchestra. I'm with the Galactic Symphony. We're all going to play music together, and I just wish to get our frequencies right. You with me? You want to play? And but there are certain rules, and there they are. But anybody can join. Just you can play in the galactic frequency. You can play in the Galactic Symphony, and we're all part of this. Yes, come on. There are these just simple, basic rules to be a part of the orchestra. It's not about you're a Nazi or you know, we can stop all that. Well, you're a Christian and I'm a Muslim. Fine. Can you play the tune? That's what's important. So much love to you guys. I find the different perspectives a huge benefit always with the learning. Sing it. Absolutely. Sing the song. Those guys that do that throat thing. It's like, that's hard to do. I haven't practiced that in a long time, but do the throat singing. But when you get that really good glottal tone, you can feel it down in your stomach, and it's like the energy. It's amazing. It's hard to do. Try it. It's interesting. So much love, Quartz, Marie, Tim Who, and I'm who else am I missing up here? Oh, Nunya. Yes, 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 yes. Hugs all around. Sleep well. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here, so get rest, everybody. And Marie, you have let's see, it's going into evening there, whereas we're coming into morning. So have a good evening, Marie, down in your end of the woods. And let's continue to be kind to one another. And thank you all for hanging out with me. I actually am humbled by everything you say and part of the group, and the fact that you think on yourself and take the information and apply it in your own way. That's what it's meant for. So it's five. Tim, you got 5 o'clock here too. 9 p.m. in your area, Marie. Blessings to you. So thank you guys. Thank you, gals. Thank you to the universe. So with my closing prayer, as always, I ask that every one of you and your family and friends and all of your relations and relatives will accept and receive the healing and the knowledge and the healing and the knowledge from the universe and from the Creator, and that everyone understands that the source is always there. We can always communicate with it. We are always a part of the grand orchestra, and so send that love around and keep the faith, everyone. So good night, good morning, wherever you are. And I'm your humble servant, Hawkeye Two Feathers, down here in Southwest Georgia, saying peace out from here. And I'll be back next time. And thank you all. I am so humbled by all of your presence and from your presence of who you are and the prayers that you give me just by simply being here.